Alien girl leads human through the fog, but human steps into a memory that isn't his. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. The lab was never this quiet. Ethan Ward knew that the moment he opened his eyes. A thin sheet of condensation clung to the inside of his visor, catching the pale glow of sensors blinking in slow, uneven rhythms. Cold air hummed against the back of his neck, carrying the sterile scent of disinfectant and hot circuitry. Something in the room had been running too long, or not long enough. His pulse thudded once, hard, as he pushed himself upright. A status panel flickered beside him. Memory field. Unstable. He wiped the fog from his visor and froze. There, beyond the reinforced glass, stood Arya. Or hovered. Or drifted. It was always hard to tell with her. The mist around her rose in slow spirals, lit from within by a soft blue shimmer that made her skin look almost luminous. She lifted one hand, fingers splayed, as if steadying the entire field with nothing but her breath and will. Ethan slid off the diagnostic bed, boots landing softly on the metal floor. His breath puffed in the chilled air. Arya, no answer. Only the faint vibration of the fog modulators working overtime. He stepped closer to the glass. The sifting haze curled around her ankles like low ocean tide, then climbed to her waist, swallowing the edges of her outline. She didn't look back at him. She didn't need to. She always seemed to know where he was, some instinct woven into her kind. Or maybe just the way she listened to the shifts in the room's silence. A strand of her silver blue hair floated weightless beside her cheek, caught in currents only she could sense. Ethan keyed the interlock. The door hissed. Heat spilled out first, thin but noticeable, followed by the soft hum of the field brushing against his suit. The fog pressed lightly against his chest, like stepping into a memory already mid-breath. Arya, talk to me, he said, his voice low but steady. Finally, she turned. Her eyes, bright and quiet like deep water reflections, met his through the drifting haze. You shouldn't be awake yet, she murmured. The system wasn't ready for you. Ethan exhaled. Then something dragged me out early. Her gaze flicked toward the trembling lights overhead. The fog is remembering things it shouldn't. A shiver crawled along his spine, not fear, but recognition. The field wasn't just malfunctioning. It was pulling at something, calling to something. And as the haze curled around his boots, warming slightly, Ethan felt the first tug, gentle, like a childhood memory rising without permission. Arya stepped closer, the fog parting around her shape. Stay behind me, she whispered. The mist is opening passages tonight. He frowned. Passages to what? She hesitated. Just for a second. Places that were never yours to walk. The fog pulsed once, blue and deep. And Ethan felt, just for an instant, someone else's heartbeat echo through his own. The echo of that borrowed heartbeat lingered in Ethan's chest as the fog swirled higher, brushing against his shoulders with a warmth that did not belong in any lab he knew. He steadied his breathing, counting each inhale the way he used to in the field, back when focus mattered more than fear. Arya lifted her hand, and the mist shifted, as if listening to her. Pale blue light followed her movements in gentle arcs, revealing faint ripples in the air that felt almost like invisible doors. She stepped through the closest ripple, and Ethan followed without arguing. The moment he crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped by several degrees. Frost kissed the edges of the metal floor. The overhead fixtures dimmed into a soft twilight glow, as if the entire space were adjusting to something older than electricity. Ethan glanced at the nearest display panel. Its numbers and diagnostics flickered, confused, struggling to identify the new environment layered over the physical room. This is not the lab anymore, he whispered. Arya nodded slightly. You are inside the outer edges of the memory field. It is shallow, but unstable tonight. Shallow. Ethan stared into the shifting haze stretching out before them. If this was shallow, he did not want to know what deep looked like. The fog pulsed again, softer this time, like a breath taken under blankets. Ethan caught another flicker at the edge of his vision. A shape, A silhouette. Gone before he could focus on it. Do not follow the shadows, Arya said quietly. They only echo pieces. They do not lead anywhere real. What does real look like in here? Ethan asked. She hesitated, and the pause told him everything. Whatever counted as real inside this field was not something she wanted him near. A gentle hum rose around them, like a low choir warming up. The floor vibrated under Ethan's boots. Arya placed her palm against a thin column of light, and the vibration eased. The fog is trying to guide you, she murmured. It recognizes something in your neural patterns. Ethan blinked. It should not recognize anything. I barely ran calibration this week. She tilted her head, studying him through drifting strands of silver-blue hair. Memory fields respond to resonance. Something in you is matching a frequency inside the fog, meaning it is listening to you more than it should. That did not comfort him. Ethan adjusted a dial on his wrist sensor. The reading spiked for a second, then steadied. Arya, that heartbeat I felt earlier. That was not mine. I know. Her voice softened, losing some of its usual cool precision. The field brushed you too closely. It must have let a fragment through. A fragment of what? She did not answer, but her shoulders tensed, the slightest shift. Enough for Ethan to sense that this was no ordinary malfunction. A wave of fog rose in front of them, tall as a doorway. Within it, faint lights blinked like distant lanterns. Ethan reached out instinctively. Arya caught his wrist. Her touch was light, yet firm enough to stop him. Move slowly, she said. Memory reacts to intent. He looked at her, really looked. The blue glow around her skin made her seem both present and far away, as if she lived half a step out of phase with the rest of the room. What is behind that? He asked. An intersection, she replied. A place where pieces of different minds drift close together. Including yours? Again that pause. Yes. The hum deepened, a warm tone that resonated in Ethan's ribs. He felt another rhythmic pulse, faint but unmistakable, like a footstep landing softly somewhere inside the mist. Only this time, it did not feel like someone else's memory pushing into him. It felt like something was walking toward them. Ethan exhaled slowly. Tell me that is normal. Arya looked into the fog, her expression tightening with a quiet understanding he could not yet grasp. It is not, she breathed. Nothing inside the field is supposed to move on its own. The shape inside the fog took form slowly, the way a memory tries to return before it fully remembers itself. Ethan felt the air tighten, a gentle pressure against his ribs, as if the room were holding its breath with him. The lights above flickered, not in a pattern, but in a rhythm that followed the distant footfalls echoing through the haze. Arya stepped slightly ahead of him, one hand raised, her fingers trembling just enough to betray that even she was not entirely prepared for this. The mist brightened around her, drawn to her presence as though recognizing its original keeper. Stay close, she said, her voice low and steady. If the fog is forming a path, we need to follow it before it closes. Ethan nodded, trusting her more than the readings on his wrist sensor. The numbers danced with no logic, reacting to signals the device was never designed to interpret. He glanced at Arya. Does it always do that? Form paths. She shook her head. Only when it wants to show something. The lack of certainty in her tone settled into his stomach like something cold. They moved forward, each step changing the temperature by a degree or two, shifting from cool to warm and back again, as if passing through the emotions of someone unseen. The haze parted enough for Ethan to glimpse faint outlines beneath the surface, impressions of rooms, objects, maybe even people, but they vanished whenever he tried to focus on them. Arya paused. Do you feel that? Ethan did. A pulse in the air, quiet but steady, like a heartbeat buried under layers of silence. Not an echo from before. A new one. It is guiding us, Arya murmured. But I do not know why it would choose you. Ethan swallowed. You said it listens to resonance. Maybe I triggered something by accident. Memory is not accidental, she replied gently. It holds purpose, even when the mind does not see it. They reached a widening in the fog, an open pocket where the mist lowered to their knees. Above them the lights softened into a warm glow, like early morning filtering through curtains. The air smelled faintly of something Ethan could not place at first. Sunlight on stone, maybe. A courtyard. A place someone once stood. His chest tightened. Not his memory, but familiar in a way that made his breath catch. "Arya," he whispered. "This feels like something real." She stepped forward, and the fog rose in greeting, forming a subtle archway of swirling blue. "This is an anchor point," she said. "A memory strong enough to give shape to the field." Ethan hesitated. "Is it yours?" Arya did not answer immediately. Her eyes moved across the shifting space, recognition flickering in her expression. "It should not be here," she said softly. "Not this one." Before he could ask, the fog shifted again. A soft sound traveled through it, quiet as a hum from another room. It was not speech, but neither was it noise. It felt like an emotion trying to speak. Ethan stepped closer to her. "If we leave now, will it disappear?" "Yes," she said, "but it will return the next time the field calls for it." The hum deepened, and the flicker of light inside the archway stretched into a faint silhouette, small, no taller than Ethan's waistline. It stood still, waiting. Arya's breath hitched, the smallest sound he had ever heard from her. Ethan looked at her. "Do you know what that is?" Her fingertips curled inward, her voice barely audible. "It is a memory that belongs to me, and you were never meant to see it." The silhouette held still, quiet as a held breath, its outline soft and wavering like someone remembering a child rather than seeing one. Ethan felt the air shift again, warmer now, carrying the faint scent of something gentle, something that did not match the cold machinery around them. Arya did not move. Her eyes stayed fixed on the small figure, her expression caught between recognition and reluctance. The fog curled around her ankles as if urging her forward. Ethan waited, letting the silence stretch. He had learned that silence, with Arya, was not emptiness. It was space for truth. When she finally spoke, her voice was thin, barely a whisper. "This is not supposed to form unless the field detects unresolved emotion." Ethan nodded slowly. "So this came from you." She did not deny it. The silhouette shifted, turning slightly toward them, though it had no face, no features, only the impression of presence. Arya's fingers flexed at her sides, the gesture small but telling. "We should leave," she said. "Anchor points are not meant for others to witness." "You brought me in here," Ethan reminded softly. "I followed your lead. I brought you into the field," she said, "not into this." She took one careful step back, but the fog responded instantly, drifting forward, extending a faint glow that brushed against her hand. Ethan watched her eyes soften, a moment of unguarded emotion breaking through the practiced calm she wore like armor. "Arya," he said gently, "is it hurting you to be here?" She shook her head, though the motion was uncertain. "It is not pain. It is weight." He understood that. Some memories pressed down without ever touching the skin. Ethan looked at the small silhouette again. "Does it want something?" She hesitated. "Memory does not want. It reflects." The silhouette shifted once more, and this time Ethan felt a subtle pull, not physical, but emotional, like being invited to stand closer to something fragile. Arya reached out quickly, catching his sleeve. Her grip was steady. "Do not step toward it," she warned. "If you enter an anchor that is not yours, the field could imprint something you cannot carry." Ethan searched her face. "Is that what it did to you?" Her eyes flickered with something old, something tired. "It gave shape to moments I would rather forget." The silhouette lifted an arm, a soft gesture, small and searching. Ethan felt the air thrum with quiet longing. "Arya," he murmured, "it is reaching for you." She closed her eyes for a moment, drawing a slow breath, then stepped forward until she stood within inches of the figure. The fog brightened around her hand, illuminating her profile in a pale blue halo. She did not touch it. She only stood near enough for the memory to settle. The air hummed lighter, the fog softening as though soothed by her presence. Ethan watched her shoulders ease, the first moment of calm he had seen on her since the field malfunctioned. "You stabilized it," he said softly. "Only temporarily," she replied. "Anchor points do not stay closed unless the system is fully balanced." Ethan glanced around the shifting space. "Then we need to fix the instability." Arya turned toward him, her expression once again composed, though gentler now. "There is a deeper disturbance in the field. We must reach the core to reset it." "Is that safe?" he asked. The faintest trace of a wry smile touched her lips. "Safe is not the word I would use." The silhouette faded slowly into the fog, dissolving into wisps of pale light that drifted upward like fireflies. The corridor of mist ahead of them brightened, forming another passage, wider this time, pulsing with a soft invitation. Arya faced it with steady resolve. "This path leads to the places the fog wants us to see," she said. Ethan stepped beside her. "Then let us see it together." The fog stirred, welcoming or warning, he could not tell. But it opened, and they walked forward as one. The new passage opened around them like a breath drawn from some deeper chamber, the fog rising in gentle spirals that glowed faintly with shifting hues. Ethan felt the temperature drop again, not harshly, but in a way that reminded him of stepping into an early morning before the sun fully wakes. The air carried a stillness that was almost careful, as if the field itself was choosing each moment to reveal. Arya walked a few steps ahead, her silhouette moving with deliberate calm, the soft blue shimmer of her skin echoing the glow of the mist. Ethan noticed her shoulders were more relaxed than before, though her eyes stayed focused on the shifting current of light beneath their feet. "The deeper we go," she said, her voice steady, "the more the field will attempt to draw us into existing patterns." Ethan adjusted the settings on his wrist sensor, watching the numbers pulse gently. "Patterns of what?" "Memories," she answered. "Not full ones. Fragments. Emotions. Moments the field believes are connected." Ethan frowned. "Connected to what?" She stopped, turning toward him with an expression that held both caution and something quieter. "To you." The air hummed, a soft vibration that felt almost like agreement. Ethan exhaled, the realization settling in. "It has been responding to me ever since I woke up." Arya nodded. "I believe something in your mind created a resonance it did not expect. That is why it keeps forming paths." He took a slow breath. "So what does it want now?" Arya looked forward again as the fog parted, revealing a widening space. "Ahead. To show you something. Or to test you." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Test me for what?" She hesitated. "For whether you can carry what it offers." The room around them dissolved into a softer glow, the fog lowering until it brushed gently at their knees. A faint warmth pressed against Ethan's chest, not physical, but emotional, like the feeling of standing in a familiar doorway without knowing why. He glanced at Arya. "This does not feel dangerous." "Danger is not always loud," she replied gently. "Sometimes it begins quietly." Another shape formed in the mist ahead, larger than the silhouette they had seen before. This one had clearer edges, like the outline of a doorway made of light. Ethan felt drawn toward it, an impression of warmth and comfort pulsing through the air. "Do you recognize that?" he asked. Arya shook her head. "No, this is not mine." A soft sound echoed through the space, distant and melodic, like the hum of a lullaby carried across a quiet room. Ethan stilled. The sound touched something in him he could not name. He stepped closer without meaning to, the fog rising gently with each footfall. "Ethan," Arya said, her voice firmer now, "do not approach it too quickly. Let the field reveal its intention first." "It feels familiar," he murmured. "Not a memory, but something near one." The doorway of light flickered, and with it came the soft impression of warmth on his palms, as if he had once held something fragile there. Ethan blinked, steadying himself. "Arya, I think this one might be connected to me." She moved to his side, watching the doorway with a calm, protective focus. "Then the field is not showing you a memory," she said. "It is showing you a truth." The fog shimmered, and the light expanded just enough to reveal a faint outline inside the doorway, not fully formed, but present enough that Ethan felt a quiet ache move through him. Arya placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Whatever is inside that light," she said softly, "the field believes you are ready to face it." Ethan steadied his breath, the glow reflecting in his eyes. The fog waited, patient and knowing, as if holding a story that had been silent for far too long. The light inside the doorway pulsed gently, as if timed to Ethan's breathing rather than the fog's. Deeper rhythm. He stepped forward until he could feel a faint warmth brush across his forearms, like sunlight filtered through thin curtains. It was not hot, not cold, just a presence waiting for acknowledgement. Arya remained beside him, her expression composed but attentive, the quiet steadiness of someone ready to catch him if the field tried to pull too hard. "Ethan," she said softly, "before you touch anything, breathe. Let the field sense that you are aware." He followed her instruction, drawing a slow inhale. The moment his breath steadied, the doorway brightened, unraveling strands of light that drifted toward him like threads searching for a place to tie themselves. Ethan felt something stir behind the glow, a quiet pressure in his chest that was neither fear nor pain, but something closer to recognition. "Do you see that?" he asked. "Yes," Arya murmured. "The field is preparing to open your resonance path." Ethan blinked. "My what?" "It is the pattern that forms when a mind holds memory and emotion in equal measure," she explained. "The field does not create memories. It reveals the spaces where they live." He swallowed, the weight of her words settling heavily. "I do not remember losing anything." "Loss does not always announce itself," she replied gently. A soft flicker passed through the doorway, and for a moment Ethan saw the faint curve of an object inside. He could not make out its shape, only the impression of something held close, something protected. When he moved closer, the fog around his boots rippled outward, sending tiny waves of pale light across the floor. The field responded to him instantly, as if eager. Arya's hand brushed his arm again, grounding him. "If this is yours," she said, "then only you can decide whether to step inside." Ethan studied the glow. "Will it hurt?" "No," she said, "but it may show you a truth you did not expect." He let the warmth reach him fully this time. The air thickened slightly, like stepping into a room filled with memory-laden dust motes. Then a sound emerged from within the doorway, faint but clear enough to settle in his chest. A single breath. Not his. Not Arya's. A smaller one, delicate, like a whisper from someone leaning close. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He took another step. The glow shifted, peeling back layers of light to reveal the outline of a small object resting on a surface he could not see. It was a glove. A tiny glove, no larger than what a toddler might wear. His heartbeat stuttered. "This cannot be mine," he whispered, though the ache in his chest said otherwise. Arya watched him carefully. Memory is not always conscious. Some truths sink deeper than recall. Ethan crouched slowly, the glove sharpening into clearer focus. The fabric was pale, soft, well worn around the edges. He recognized the stitching. He did not know how, but he did. His hand hovered above it, shaking slightly. When he finally touched the shape, the glove dissolved into a ripple of warmth, spreading up his arm and settling behind his sternum like a quiet, familiar presence. Ethan inhaled sharply as images flickered behind his closed eyelids, too quick to grasp, too soft to hold. He opened his eyes, breath unsteady. "Arya," he said, voice shaking, "why would the field show me this if I do not remember it?" She knelt beside him, her gaze calm and unwavering. "Because forgetting and losing are not the same thing. Some memories stay silent until something strong enough calls them forward." The doorway dimmed slightly, as if retreating, its purpose fulfilled for now. Ethan stared at the space it left behind, the echo of the tiny glove still warm in his chest. "Then what is the field trying to tell me?" Arya rose, offering him her hand. "That the truth you came here to find is deeper than the path we have walked. The heart remembers even when the mind cannot." He took her hand, the fog lifting around them as if clearing the way. And in the quiet that followed, Ethan understood the field was not finished with him yet. The fog shifted as if sensing Ethan's unsteady breath, its glow softening into a muted blue that wrapped around his shoulders like a quiet reassurance. Arya kept her hand in his for a moment longer than necessary, gauging the tremor in his grip before releasing it gently. The warmth lingering in his chest from the tiny glove felt heavier now, not painful, but insistent, like a memory waiting behind a locked door. Ethan straightened slowly. "You said the field does not create anything, that it only shows what already exists." Arya nodded. "Yes. Then why does this feel like something I have carried for years, without knowing?" Her expression softened, a rare tenderness threading through the cool precision she usually wore. "Because some truths live in the heart long before the mind gathers the courage to acknowledge them." The fog ahead of them stirred, forming another path that curved gently to the right, the light brightening at its edges. Ethan felt a faint pull from it, not unlike the sensation that had drawn him toward the glove. This one felt deeper, steadier, as if beckoning him to something the field believed he was finally ready to face. Arya stepped forward, testing the air. The glow responded to her presence, curling upward in slow spirals. "This direction leads closer to the core," she said. "The field is preparing for a full alignment." Ethan frowned. Full alignment with what? She hesitated. With you. His breath caught. Is that good or bad? Arya studied the mist. It is neither. It is simply necessary. They walked side by side into the forming corridor. The air shifted again, warmer now, carrying a subtle hint of cedar and cotton, a scent that struck Ethan with unexpected clarity. He knew that smell. He could not place it, but it was familiar in a way that tightened his chest. Ethan, Arya said quietly, tell me what you are sensing. He shook his head once. I do not know, but it feels like home. The word tasted strange when he said it, as if it belonged to a part of him he did not often visit. The path opened into a broader chamber made entirely of fog, but this mist held shape differently. It formed arches reminiscent of door frames, table edges, the faint suggestion of furniture softened by time and recollection. Ethan's breath stilled. This looks like a room, he whispered. Your room, Arya said softly. He turned to her. I never told you what my room looked like. You did not need to, she replied. The field is reading you. Ethan stepped deeper into the chamber. The fog thickened slightly near the center, coalescing around a small shape resting on what resembled a low shelf. He approached slowly, his pulse matching the subtle rhythm of the hum beneath the floor. When the shape came into focus, he froze. A tiny pair of shoes, white, scuffed at the toes. He reached toward them, but Arya caught his wrist gently. Ethan, she said, her voice low, before you touch them, you need to understand something. He swallowed. What? The fog does not show fragments without purpose. If it has revealed two objects belonging to a child, then it believes you already know what truth comes next. His chest tightened painfully, a deep ache blooming under his ribs. Arya, I do not have a child. Her eyes held his quietly. Memory is not only what you recall. It is also what you refuse to carry. The shoes flickered softly, their edges glowing in a muted gold light, as if the field itself were holding them with tenderness. Ethan felt his knees weaken. He gripped the edge of the fog-formed shelf to steady himself. A soft sound filled the chamber then, a single breath, small and trembling, like the one he had heard near the glove. Ethan's eyes widened. Arya, he whispered, voice cracking, someone else is here. She stepped closer, her presence steady behind him, her voice grounding. The field is calling forth the deepest part of your resonance. Whatever appears next will not be a fragment. The fog behind the shoes shimmered, the air stirring like curtains drawn by an unseen hand. A silhouette began to form. Not a doorway, not an object. A person. Small, quiet, waiting. Ethan's breath caught on a sharp inhale. Arya, he whispered, unable to look away. Why is the field showing me a child? Arya's voice was barely audible. Because, Ethan, it is time for you to remember who you once were to someone you loved. The silhouette slowly gained clarity, not through sharp edges, but through presence, as if the fog remembered tenderness more easily than form. Ethan felt the air thicken, a quiet weight settling around his shoulders. The chamber's glow dimmed to a softer gold, the kind of light that filled a child's room at bedtime. He could not look away. The figure was small, barely reaching his waist, with no distinct features, yet everything about its posture radiated familiarity. A gentle tilt of the head, the soft lift of the arms. A wordless question. Ethan's breath shuddered. This cannot be possible, he murmured, though something deep in his chest insisted that it was. Arya stepped closer, her voice a calm anchor against the rising tide in him. The fog is not creating a child. It is revealing the memory of one. Ethan shook his head, his pulse thudding unevenly. I would remember. If I lost. The words caught, heavy and unwilling. Arya watched him with quiet understanding. Memory protects the mind by hiding what the heart cannot bear. But the field does not obey human shielding. It listens to truth. The silhouette took a single step forward. Not threatening, not alarming. Just one small, patient movement, like a child approaching someone who had been gone a long time. Ethan felt something inside him fracture, not painfully, but with a release that felt like finally breathing after holding his breath for years. A soft hum filled the chamber, lighter than before, shimmering gently around the silhouette. The tiny shoes on the shelf glowed in response, their golden edges warm and unmistakable. Ethan closed his eyes, and for the briefest moment, a flash of memory brushed across his mind, a laugh small enough to fit in his palm, a hand gripping his thumb with trust, sunlight flickering through curtains, and the sound of someone calling his name in a voice high and bright. He gasped, eyes snapping open. Arya. I knew someone. She nodded. Yes. Someone young. Yes. The glow pulsed again, and Ethan instinctively knelt, lowering himself to the silhouette's level. His body moved with a certainty his mind did not fully understand. The silhouette responded immediately. It stepped closer, stopping only inches from him. Ethan felt warmth radiate from it, gentle, steady, like the way a child leaned into a parent without asking permission. His hands trembled. I was responsible for someone, he whispered. Someone The ache in his chest tightened, then softened, as though the fog itself was cushioning the blow of recollection. Someone I lost. Arya knelt beside him, her voice soft. The field is showing you the truth you have carried alone. Ethan slowly extended his hand, not to touch, but to offer. The silhouette lifted its own small hand, placing it just above his palm. They did not make contact. The fog would not allow that. But the closeness was enough. A warmth spread from the space between them, blooming through Ethan's chest like a sunrise breaking through cloud. His throat tightened with emotion. I do not remember their face, he whispered. You remember their presence, Arya said gently. And that is often the part the heart holds most deeply. The silhouette lowered its hand, stepping back into the gentle glow forming behind it. The air pulsed softly, a farewell rather than a disappearance. Ethan felt a tear slip down his cheek, not heavy, just honest. He wiped it quickly, letting the breath he had been holding escape. The silhouette faded, not dissolving into nothing, but blending into the surrounding glow as though returning to a safe home. Arya rose with him, steady and calm. The field has shown you what lies beneath your shielding, she said. But it is not finished. Ethan steadied himself, chest still warm with the echo of the unseen child's presence. If this is what the field wanted to show me, he said quietly, what comes next? The fog stirred, answering with a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the floor. Arya looked toward the far side of the chamber where the mist was beginning to twist into a new passage, darker, deeper, more deliberate. The core, she whispered. It is time. Ethan exhaled slowly, the echo of the tiny hand still resting in the center of his palm. He stepped forward, and the fog opened, ready to reveal the truth waiting in its depths. The new passage opened with a deeper glow, its edges darkened by swirls of silver that moved like slow-turning galaxies. Ethan felt the air shift as he stepped toward it, thicker now, as if the fog itself was gathering strength for what lay ahead. Arya walked beside him, her presence steady, her silhouette outlined in soft light that made her look almost weightless. The hum under the floor grew more defined, like a heartbeat finding its rhythm, guiding them forward. Ethan inhaled deeply, the warmth from the memory of the child still settled in his chest, anchoring him as the fog parted for them. What happens when we reach the core? He asked quietly. Arya's eyes reflected the shifting light. The core will show the root of the instability. It holds the collective weight of every unresolved memory in the field, but it will choose which truth to reveal based on the one carrying the strongest resonance. Ethan exhaled. Which is me? Yes, she murmured. It has been you since the moment you woke. They stepped through the arch of swirling silver. The chamber they entered was vast, though no physical walls marked its edges. The fog formed gentle curves around them, rising in soft waves that glowed with faint shades of blue and gold. In the center floated a sphere of light, no larger than a basketball, pulsing with slow, deliberate rhythm. Ethan felt its presence immediately, a quiet pull that touched the same tender place in him that the tiny glove and shoes had awakened. This is the heart of the memory field, Arya whispered. It is alive with everything that lingers unresolved. Ethan approached the sphere cautiously. The closer he came, the more the air thickened, not with fear, but with something like longing. A gentle warmth radiated from the sphere, the same warmth he had felt from the small silhouette. It feels familiar, he said. Because it is responding to you, Arya replied. The core recognizes the truth you carry. It is preparing to release you from what you have held alone. Ethan's breath trembled. I do not know if I am ready to see more. Arya stepped closer, her voice soft but unwavering. Readiness is not the point. Honesty is. The sphere brightened. A soft sound emerged from within it, a single breath, followed by another. Ethan froze. The sound was unmistakable. A child's gentle inhale, steady and real. The fog around the sphere expanded, revealing a faint silhouette inside it, the same size as the one he had seen before, but clearer now. No face, no features, but presence. Unmistakable. The child lifted its arms toward him, a gesture that collapsed whatever remaining walls Ethan had left. His eyes burned with unshed tears. "I knew them," he whispered. "Yes," Arya said. "And you loved them." The words landed softly, not as a wound, but as truth. The sphere pulsed again, warmer now. Ethan felt the warmth move through his chest, loosening a knot he had carried without recognizing its weight. Images flickered at the edges of his mind. A small hand patting his cheek, soft laughter in the early morning, a quiet room filled with sunlight. And then, a final memory, faint but unmistakable, his arms wrapped around a child, holding them close, promising he would always be there. Ethan staggered, breath catching. Arya steadied him gently. "The fog is not showing you loss," she said softly. "It is showing you love that never left you." The silhouette inside the sphere pressed its small hand against the inner surface. Ethan mirrored the gesture, placing his palm inches away. A warmth bloomed between them, soft and bright, like a final message carried across time. "You remembered me." The sphere glowed brighter, then slowly dimmed, the silhouette fading into gentle light that dispersed throughout the chamber like dust motes catching sunlight. Ethan lowered his hand, his breath steady now, his heart full in a way that felt both heavy and freed. Arya stood beside him, her presence a quiet refuge. "The core is stabilized," she said. "You gave it what it needed." "What was that?" Ethan asked, voice soft. "Truth," she replied. The chamber around them began to dissolve as the fog receded, returning piece by piece to the physical world. The hum softened. The light steadied. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, letting the last warmth settle in his chest. When he opened them, Arya was watching him with an expression that held respect and something gentler. "Are you all right?" she asked. He nodded slowly. For the first time in a long time, yes. The fog parted one final time, revealing the path home. He stepped forward. Arya followed. And behind them, the memory field pulsed once, soft, grateful, and at peace.